Should you stretch before a workout? This can be a confusing thing for people because there's a lot of conflicting information out there. You should always stretch, you should never stretch. What's stretching? Stretch before your workout, stretch after your workout. So when's the right time to do it? The confusion comes in part from the runners because there are a lot more runners out there than martial artists. And the runners, for a long time, they used to think you should stretch before a workout, and now they've mostly shifted to stretching after they run. And it's because when they're running, they're not at the limits of their flexibility. They're just jogging along here. Unless they're crazy inflexible, they can do this all day. They're worried about the long-term effects of running, tightening the muscles, and then that having downstream effects, right? Their hamstrings tightening, and then that putting their lower back out of joint, and then that cutting into their running. So they say stretch after a workout, stretch after your run. So in that context, they're right. If you're doing a workout that requires almost no flexibility, there's probably not much benefit to stretching, and there can even be some downside. Downside to stretching, you say? Absolutely. If you do a really lengthy, slow, static stretching of a muscle, it's not going to be ready. It's not going to be ready to, bing, 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 to fire. Or in the case of running, to do many, many tight, explosive steps. It's going to be more stretched out. It's going to be more relaxed. It's not going to be in optimal firing form. So, if you're doing an exercise that requires no flexibility at all, the actual exercise, then sure, stretch afterwards. But if you're a martial artist, or even if you're a weightlifter, say, forget martial artists, say you're a weightlifter and you're working on your overhead squats, right, where you hold the bar up here and you squat all the way down. For a lot of people, this is really difficult. They don't have the range of motion in the shoulder. They can go here, but to take it back past their head, that's difficult. So before you do that and load up with weight and try and hold it above your head, you want to stretch that out on your own terms, right? If you're up here and you lose the weight and it rips your shoulder backwards into a place it's not supposed to go, then better that you've taken your body slowly and controlled into that range and increase that range on your own terms, rather than the weight taking you there. Or in a martial arts sense, it's really easy. If you're going to get all pretzeled up, better that you get pretzeled up slowly and under control on your own terms than your opponent taking you and as you're rolling, twisting you up and taking you to the limits of your range of motion while you're fighting. That's a bad thing. Or kicking. If you're a kickboxer or doing taekwondo, you don't want the very first technique you come out to be going, boom, head kick, and taking you right to the limits of your flexibility. That's why you want to start out with some gentle stretching. Often, and the individual results may vary, but a lot of people have success with dynamic stretching. You're not swinging your leg up as hard or as high as you can go, but you're taking it close to the limits of your motion. Then you take it a little bit higher. And that warms up that plane. Or, another example, this, right? Here, you're not throwing your arms as far as you can, but you're taking it dynamically into the range of motion. Then you can do some gentle stretching. Make sure that your shoulders, your hips, your neck, your back get taken through the ranges of motion that they're likely to experience in your sport, especially if your sport requires flexibility, as martial arts do, and then do the workout. Then at the end of your workout, when you're all warmed up and you're sweaty, then you can really get into that deep, long, slow, I call it yoga-like stretching, but there's so many kinds of yoga that's probably not accurate. I call it yoga-like stretching, right? Where you're there and you're concentrating on your breathing. You might hold a stretch for 5, 10, 20, 60 seconds and try and go deeper and deeper into it. That's not usually appropriate for the beginning of a workout. That's good for the end of a workout when you're all sweaty. One final thing, if your sport does require you to do some stretching, that's great, but don't come in off the street and then try and go into your full stretch. Don't do that. Get a sweat first. If you're not sweating a little bit or a little bit out of breath, you're not ready to start stretching because your body hasn't woken up yet. That's where your jumping jacks come in. That's where your running on the spot comes in. That's where your light burpees come in. Get a sweat going, then do your stretching. So this whole rule of never stretch before a workout, stretch after your workout, it's true for certain sports, but it's almost never true for the combat sports. So do some stretching, take yourself into those positions that you're likely to find yourself in. Take your joints through the ranges of motion that they're going to need, both if everything stays according to plan and if things go not according to plan. Both if you put yourself into that awkward position on purpose, and if your opponent takes you into that awkward position against your will. Hope that clarifies it. I think it'll really help your training. I think it'll help keep you safe on the mats, and I think it'll help prevent injuries from being taken into uncomfortable positions that your body could normally go to if it was warmed up, if it was stretched out. But if it wasn't ready for it, kapop, there's a tear, and now you're talking months off your training. So don't do that. Make sure you stretch.